Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I mean, wonderful. I have to say, Antonia, you have done the most brilliant job at managing, the technical issues we've been having here, and it's lovely. Finally.
Lovely to see you. Exactly. Well, thank you. Good afternoon, I should say, to Phillip Evitt, head at Highfield and Brookham. Lovely to speak to you. And IT issues aside, we beat the system, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Wonderful. Can't quite believe it. I thought we were going to have to go through all sorts of rigmaroles with our IT team and reschedule.
And the nation has had to listen to me waffle for hours. So I'm sorry for that. But there we go. We got there in the end. Persistence won.
Yeah,
Phillip,
brilliant.
You and your wife, Jo, are very much part of the fabric of Highfield and Brookham. You've been there since 1999, I believe.
Indeed,
and I was interested to know what was your journey leading to Highfield?
Oh, I mean, into teaching. I mean, brilliant teachers who inspired me. Both in the classroom and beyond. It's that wonderful cliche, isn't it? But they genuinely changed my life. They got me into Cambridge. They instilled a tremendous love of my subject. I'm an historian. And I just had that desire, that passion, to share my enthusiasm, to share my passion, and to make the difference to other children that had been made for me. So that's absolutely why. How I wound up at Highfield, well, that's a story in itself. But because my background after graduating and doing my teacher training, I was in senior schools and latterly at Dulwich College, where I was head of history, with absolutely no aspiration for headship or to run a prep school. And I found myself here and was amazed actually that I wasn't rumbled in the first 6 months, and it's just continued on. So yeah. All good.
Oh, fantastic. And what, in your view, obviously entirely unbiased, what do you think sets Highfield apart from other prep schools? I mean, there are lots of fantastic prep schools in the land. What do you think your USP is?
Okay, so what makes Highfield Highfield? We talk about our DNA. It's sort of 5-strand DNA, though. I think people here are absolutely engaged, heart and soul. This is a place where the engagement, the involvement is absolutely 110%. We're full of life. There is an extraordinary community of children, of staff, of parents, alumni. Relationships are just wonderful. I think that was the thing that most captivated me about the place when I first came, and it was an incredibly unpromising first visit. I mean, the clouds were parked just above the chimney pots, rain was horizontal. But what I saw that day were just the most wonderful relationships between the adults and the children. A real sense of mutual respect, of pleasure and joy, and I think that's something very special about the place. And I think part of the reason for that is our extraordinary environment. Yeah. We have this glorious 175 acres of grounds, sort of prime West Sussex, Hampshire real estate. And children have the opportunity to be children. They can climb trees, they can ride their bikes. There's just that lovely sense of space. So I think all those things, make us what we are, along with all those other, values and other aspirations that any self-respecting head of a prep school would talk about. Absolutely.
And how do you think, I mean, the prep school days really are magical, and I think almost more so in retrospect. How do you juggle offering this wonderful broad curriculum with the academic rigor that is expected of you? You've got the most amazing success rate into senior school. So you're clearly doing both pretty well. That balance is always an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But I'm always puzzled that people think that somehow they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
It's as though sort of rigorous education and real ambition for your children and having fun, those things can't possibly come together. I mean, rubbish.
Yeah.
We all know from our time at school, those inspirational teachers that I was talking about earlier, who make the subjects live, who make their classrooms, you know, these places of joy and wonder and enchantment and fascination and fun, you know, and, you know, to me, that's absolutely what it's all about. And you know, the other thing is children are not frightened of academic rigor or ambition. They love a challenge. And so long as you're pitching that challenge right, so the children don't feel that it's something that they're never going to be able to get to, and so long as you're encouraging, you can absolutely do that. It's all about knowing your children. It's about ensuring that they're working at a pace that's appropriate to them, and trusting them actually, you know, to deliver what you want from them. So I think that's really, you know, why I think we're able to get the best of both worlds. And you know, you can absolutely deliver that academic success, that success in music or drama or sport or art or whatever it might be, but they can enjoy it. You know, and if actually, they can't enjoy it at prep school age, why bother?
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, you know, it's cliched because I think it really is true. I think that, you know, happy children and confident children, you get all sorts of amazing results out of, don't you? Because ultimately you know, you've got them in the palm of your hand the minute they're happy.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, exciting times. And Highfield's privately owned, is that right?
It is, yes.
It is. And what do you think? Do you think that adds a different element to the school?
Oh no, I mean, undoubtedly. You know, my current boss, the owner, is the grandson of the founder. He was born here.
Right.
The school is in his blood. And unlike some sort of proprietorial setups where it might be kind of slash and burn or whatever, I mean, Bill is absolutely, you know, 100% committed to the school. It's a passion. He takes a really direct and hands-on role here, and he cares. You know, he really cares. I think actually it's one of the reasons that I've stayed here, because I've just found working with him and working in this environment incredibly compelling and very, very exciting. So, you know, I think if you're in a proprietorial setup, everything depends, doesn't it, on the relationship that you have with the proprietor and their engagement, their commitment and interest in education. And education it's absolutely in his blood. It's also in what he does alongside owning Highfield. He runs an educational outfit called Explore Learning. So, you know, for him, you know, schools, it's about how do we best benefit our children? You know, how do we make the experience as good as it possibly can be? And that's absolutely where I'm coming from too. So, you know, that's why it works.
Sure.
And I suppose the other thing that I would say is that, you know, I've governed at 5 other really, really good schools, senior and prep. And the governance has been brilliant, but sometimes with the committee structures and that sort of greater degree of formality, it can at times be a check towards, you know, swift decision making or progress. There's none of that here. So, you know, if we have a great idea and we think it's going to run, we can absolutely go for it, and that's very exciting. And that's actually why we have our biomass.
I was coming on to that because that is fascinating. So am I right in saying you've got an almost neutral carbon footprint?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. And that was very, very much driven by Bill.
Okay.
I mean, he was captivated by the idea when he visited Westdean College outside Chichester, who've had a biomass set up, I think, there for about 30 years. And he just kind of thought that Highfield and Brookham was potentially the perfect storm for this to work, in that we've got, you know, hundreds of acres of woodland that was in need of management then. I mean, lots of sweet chestnut sort of coppice plantations. And we were both really, really committed to the idea of making the school carbon neutral. So we went down that route. We got rid of 30 oil-fired boilers. You know, all the hot water, all the heating across the entire estate now is provided by the biomass, and all the wood chip comes from you know, our timber that we harvest, and other local sources. So we've become, you know, a real hub for improving not only the estates management and woodland management on our estates, but for a number of other estates locally, because formerly there was no value in harvesting the timber. Now there is, because you know, we're interested in using it.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic teaching aid for the kids as well.
I was about to say, to supplant that seed literally in that many pupils going forward, that it's just a way of life, that you know, that's nothing extraordinary, that is just the way it operated, is amazing. And you also offer environmental studies as part of the curriculum, is that right? Yes,
well, we do. It's part of our sort of Miniature Duke of Edinburgh award scheme that we run on a Thursday afternoon. And you know, we don't just have the biomass. The whole of the roof of our swimming pool is covered in photovoltaic. You know, we've been thinking about wind energy, and the children who are so, you know, alert to all this are just tremendous drivers of the debate and the discussion. You know, and I you know, you kind of get that dynamic with children, don't you? When you overtake on the motorway and you're told by your child that you've just been responsible for the death of another 10 polar bears. You know, it's so important that they feel that we're listening and that we're doing something about it. So I'm really, really proud of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it sounds incredible, I have to say. And Philip, on the academic side of things, you have got a fantastic track record, and I was interested to know, I mean, I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but, you know, pre-tests are happening earlier and earlier at the moment. I mean, you know, maintaining those happy childhood fun times and managing expectations of parents, dare I say it, and schools, it's not an easy juggle. Your approach, is it different to others, do you think, or are you, I mean, what are your thoughts?
I'd be surprised if it was. I mean, I think it's back to what we were talking about earlier. I think if children are engaged, if children enjoy learning, if children trust their teachers, if children feel that their teachers are genuinely interested and committed to them, they will deliver. And you know, the important thing is not to make the assessment the target.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I like to feel that our children succeed at the assessments in the way that they do, almost in spite of, rather than because of they're there, you know?
Yeah. Because also you can see an overtrained child, I think, in interview very easily, can't you? I mean, I think that,
no, absolutely. And, you know, again, it's, you know, the message from all of us here to the children, it's all about authenticity. And of course, they have the experience of practice interviews, but we never, ever tell them what to say.
No.
You know, and also, you know, extraordinary advice that I've been told about coming from so-called experts. You know, you can't say that, you'll have to tell them this, or I have to tell them that. Actually, kids, when children are authentic, when children are talking about things that they're passionate and excited about, you absolutely know it.
Of course you do.
And they will nail it. They'll ace it. Try to persuade them that what they really need to be talking about is how you reconcile the Americans and the North Koreans, or whatever. I mean, forget it. They want to talk about England versus Germany, or you know, or their guinea pigs. And actually, you know, that's what the senior schools want to see. I mean, in the end, what are these pre-assessment interviews all about? You know, if we've done our due diligence as heads, we'll have written honest and you know, clear references. They know where the child sits academically. They'll have had the ISEB pre-test scores. They know whether they're going to fit into the school or not academically. Absolutely. It's all about whether these children are actually going to flourish with them. Are they going to be a fit for the school? And they want to gauge whether these children are going to be fun to teach. You know, what do they bring to the table? You know, what are they passionate about? So it's all about authenticity.
Yeah. And Philip, I mean, loud and clear is that you are a passionate educationalist. I'm interested to know, having been at Highfield for a while, you know, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I would love to know what the future holds. I mean, you know, I'm not going to pin you down to a date, but do you see there being a sort of, I mean, have you got interests that you would like to do? Forget when and where, but have you got sort of a future plan?
I remember somebody saying, "What's your death plan?" It's incredibly depressing. Look, I am incredibly happy doing what I'm doing at the moment. The last 18 months has been interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
But it's been, you know, it's been an extraordinary time, and what it does is it helps you recalibrate things. I'm immensely proud of how the school has steered a course through this. So in terms of the future at the moment, no, you know, I'm very comfortable. I'm very comfortable here. What might the future hold? Goodness knows. I mean, if I wasn't a teacher, what would I have wanted to be? I wanted to be an architect.
Right.
I also wanted to be an actor. Neither of those things are going to happen. So who knows? I mean, I you know, we'll see. But I'm loving doing what I'm doing here.
Absolutely.
And being a part of the continued sort of growth and development of the school.
And are there any sort of highlights or plans going forward for Highfield? Have you got any sort of capital projects, or are you just focusing on? I mean, it has been such a strange time. I know a lot of people are very happy where they're at, but
yeah. Well, I mean, we opened. I say we opened our Astro, which I've waited 20 years for, which we finally. But it was handed over to us, I think, on the 4th week of lockdown. You know. But it is absolutely superb, and children have been using it happily, really, since schools came back last September. But what we are doing, sort of project at the moment, we're building the pavilion that goes up. It's a beautiful oak-framed pavilion, again, to sit in the South Downs National Park. We're just on the edge of that, and given our sort of environmental standpoint, we wanted to build something that was really going to add to the environment, but also add to the community. So apart from being a pavilion, it's also going to be a cafe. I mean, I've been banging on here for probably 15 years about how wonderful it would be to have a cafe on site that could be a focus for families, for children. Of course, all these senior schools decided that would be a jolly good idea too. So that's going to open at the beginning of next term, and thereafter, yeah, we have a wonderful whole estates plan that was unanimously approved by the South Downs National Park, and there are schemes to to build new classrooms, potentially a new sports hall at some stage, a performing arts centre.
Wow!
But these are crazy times,
and
who knows really where we're going to be in a year, let alone 4 or 5 years. But,
no, exactly.
But at the moment, all is good.
Plotted on the horizon. And I mean, fun enough, I mean, for me, talking about the community aspect of Highfield, they always appear to me to be a very tight bunch. I think your old boys and girls seem to have lasting friendships. A lot of them have gone on to Marlborough, where my children are, and I always think it's a really lovely. It just seems a very tight knit group. Do you think that's bred from, I mean, I guess it's just the family aspect of Highfield. I mean, with Brookham as well, I mean, families can track through both schools and be with you for, up to sort of 13 years or so, can't they? Oh, no,
I would almost 13 years. Yeah, we take them at 2.
Oh, right.
Not quite at conception stage yet, but,
You're working on it.
Well, I have to be careful what one says. The alumni body is extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. And I think for a prep school, really quite remarkable. We hold a lot of events up in town for different generations.
Yeah.
And what's so lovely is whether you're sort of dealing with somebody who's 80, or whether you're dealing with somebody who's 28, they all talk about the same things. And broadly, it's 3 things. It's their friendships, it's their friends, it's their teachers, and everybody has the extraordinary inspirational teacher and the complete lunatic or whatever else that made the school the place it is. But they also talk about the environment, the grounds, and it's, you know, it comes back to the F word. It's about fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
and
is.
yes, they clearly do make very, very strong, very, very close friendships. I know for my own children who were here and all went on to Bryanston, they have fantastic friends from Bryanston. They still have their Highfield friends as well.
Yeah.
You know, I was chuckling when we went. Remember the old days when you used to be able to hold social events up in London?
Yeah.
Our last reunion was for the 2000 to 2010 group. And we could have filled the room 3 times over, and it was not just because the drink was free. You know, I absolutely refuse to believe that. But you know, when they came, you know, a number of them were telling the same story, which is, you know, it was really funny.
Yeah.
At work this morning, you know, we were being asked, "What are you doing? What are you doing tonight?" And oh, well, we're going to the school reunion. You know, oh, what school reunion is that? Oh, it's Highfield. You know, Highfield. What the hell is Highfield? Yeah. It's a prep school. It's a prep school. You're going to your prep school reunion. Yeah. Really? I mean, how sad is that? And you know, very kindly, they said, "Well, look, you know, look, there are prep schools, and then there's Highfield. You know, yeah. And I think that's really what it's all about. There is this extraordinary sense of belonging, this sense of pleasure, of joy, of fun. And it's a pretty compelling place to grow up and learn. It really is.
Absolutely. Well, Philip, you've totally sold it to me. If I had any children, they'd be coming your way, but they're all through that, sadly. But we're delighted to have Highfield as one of our School Notices group, and thank you so much for joining me this morning. Really enjoyed chatting and hearing a bit more about you and Highfield, and busy times. So enjoy your summer.
Indeed. Well, look, Antonia, thank you so very much, and thank you, you know, you and everybody else who's been listening for bearing with our technological issues. But delighted that we finally got there.
Absolutely, Philip. Have a great day. Speak soon. Take care.
Yes, indeed. Take care. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.